Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank our witnesses for joining us today. I'd like to get the panel's perspective on where we are in the risk we face today. If you go to 2017, the Association of the United States Army Institute of Land Warfare did a study looking at production of munitions and what the challenges were from that point going forward. What they found in the 2017 study is that about a third of the 3,000 different types of ammunition were actually under supply. So we weren't producing what we needed within that realm. What they also found in that study was that 25% of the current munition stores that we have are 25 years of age or older. So as we look at the risk we take on with aging munition stores, with lack of production capability, I think that's an unacceptable risk. So I want to get your perspective on where do we see the future need, and I say future starting tomorrow, the future need, not only in the munitions that we need to counter the challenges in front of us, but also how do we get that production capability in place and operational as quickly as possible? A great example is we're using up lots of Javelins and lots of Stingers. The Stinger is a circa 1960s weapons platform. Listen, very, very, very effective, but the question is, if we're going to go into production, large scale, to replace the ones that we're using, is it a wise thing to reproduce a circa 1960s platform, or is it something that we ought to look at something like the Starstreak? The Starstreak 2, 2007, a pretty incredible weapon. If we're going to be doing that recapitalization, shouldn't we be looking in the future? So I want to get your perspective on where things are in the future. And then what are you doing in communications with the industrial base? They have an incredibly important part of this. They are the innovators and creators, and to me, you can leverage them in a lot of different ways. So I wanted to get the panel's perspective on that.
Mr. Wittman, if I could start, sir, on the Stinger specific. I think the approach the Army is going to take, as you know, we have current requirement for the current weapon, which, as you note, is a classic design but still effective. But so I believe we are going to use funding provided by Congress to replenish weapons similar to what we provided our current weapon. However, the Army has a requirement underway, work on a requirement for a new missile potentially underway that will look at the future you're talking about. So I think all the above, sir. So I think we need to get Stinger back in production to replenish our what we've sent, and also to support likely allies requesting more weapons than have happened today. So we're trying to get ahead of that, but also look to start, once the Army decides, a research and development effort to look at a potential new missile with perhaps greater range, sir. But that process in the Army is still underway to determine what the requirements would be for that. But I expect us to do both, sir.
Sir, if I may.
Congressman, let me go first, if you want. Congressman, just to add on to what Honorable Bush mentioned, first I would just tell you that as the Army Acquisition Executive prioritizes efforts for production, and we work collaboratively on production requirements increases over time, I do feel very, very comfortable that we're working collaboratively with our industry partners in terms of making sure that there's no degradation in support of current and future requirements. Feel very, very comfortable that we continue to mitigate any potential shortfalls based on the partnership with our industry partners. And as we look to the future, we continuously reassess our overall requirements by specific type of ammunition as we move into the future. If you don't mind, I'd like to turn it over very, very quickly over to General Gardner so he can give you just a little bit more perspective on it.
General Gardner.
Sir, additionally, the quality that our manufacturers produce of really amazing munitions allows us to do a stockpile reliability program that a Joint Munitions Command will read every single munition ever produced in this country. Every 3 to 5 years, it's retested to make sure it performs as designed. When it doesn't, we go to industry to see can it get a service life extension so that we maybe can make those missiles go longer, those rockets go longer, et cetera. And when we can't, so obviously that helps inform JPO on my right, General Boroff, on an acquisition strategy as we see it in advance of a deteriorating round so that we can maintain that reliability that you are concerned about. Over.
Sir, as far as the programmatic side for the production, in 2016, 2017, we identified we need to up the RDX and IMX. That's what you were referencing to. We're in 2025, we'll have those facilities done. We let 3 contracts last year. They'll be finishing around the 2024 timeframe. The last one we'll let this year to finish around the 2025 frame. But you can see how long it takes to take 8.5 million pounds per year to get to 15 million pounds a year for RDX, and for IMX going from 3 million pounds a year to 8 million pounds a year. It took us from 17, and we'll have it set in 25. But we are getting after it as we identify those. That was an OSD as a single manager of conventional ammunition. They gave us direction, and we've been moving out ever since with the contractor.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.